Two big African politicians, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, were voted into office into what we call one of the biggest powerhouses in Africa, talking about the east of Africa. But what exactly is happening now in that country is that the president is not in good terms with his deputy, William Ruto. But the country is going into an election, and that is on August 9. We'll be looking at that election and see if there is any kind of nexus between what we saw leading up to the 2003 election in Nigeria between then President Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar. And again, we'll also be looking at Nigeria's 2023 election. I'll be going live to Nairobi, Kenya, where David Matsanga will be joining me to look at the elections in Kenya and the candidates of that election, William Ruto and, of course, Raila Odinga. I'm Sulaiman. Welcome to The Square. You know, in politics, there are no friends forever, and enemies are never permanent. Every situation and its unique characteristics are the major determinants of what transpires between politicians. Now, the Kenyan elections throw up an interesting story as a story of real politics. The August 9 elections picked Vice President William Ruto of the Kenyan Kwanza directly against four-time presidential candidate and leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga. There are various issues making the Kenya election a unique one. The topical issues of tribalism are there, with Odinga, a Luo man, back to become the first Kenyan outside the dominant Kikuyu and Kalenjin tribes to become president. Now, while 56-year-old Ruto is favored in some parts of Kenya for his comparative youthfulness, as Odinga is 77, the incumbent of Kenyan president, Kenyatta has stood solidly behind his former foe, Odinga. Now, Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta's father, was the first indigenous president of Kenya, while Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Raila's father, was the first vice president of the country. Now, quite an interesting story, and that's why we're going over to one man who understands the dynamics of Kenyan politics, David Matsanga. Good to see you, David, and thanks for your time as always.
Thank you very much, News Central. And thank you very much. Congratulations for coming on the international scene, that we shall be seen by millions and millions of people across the world. And thank you very much. That is why I fight for Africa. I want a better Africa like this one. Thank you very much for doing so. And I'm honored to be here in the first place, being one of the first people to test your equipment.
And the feeling is mutual, David. Thank you for your time. You've always been here for the continent. Now, let's dig in deep. The stories in Kenya are a massive one, David. Now, what will be the major determinants going into next Tuesday's election, especially for non-Kenyans who are trying to make sense of what's happening?
First of all, the politics in Kenya. Every 5 years in Kenya, there has been quite a lot, except in 2000 and 2013. In 2007, 2008, Kenya fell into a crisis created by elections. And as you know very well, Suleiman, my position as Dr. Matsanga, I have told you already about elections in Africa, that if I ever get a chance, one of the things that I will stop and then educate the people on what it means by having elections. If elections in Africa are going to make people fight, hate each other, kill each other, destroy property, burn property, maim people, rape people, that is not the type of thing that I would like to have in Africa. We like to have something that when you vote, you go back home tomorrow and listen to the results. But it's not in the case in this country. In this country, Kenya, the apprehension has been so high. the rate of hatred has been so high. The candidates almost want to eat each other. They want to kill each other when they see each other. There's nobody saying
and why is that so? Because this is 2022. Many have thought that by now Kenyans would have learned, the lessons. For instance, the Deputy President, William Ruto, has accused the presidency and Odinga of stopping him from campaigning on famous Odinga strongholds. What does this mean to this election?
No. Nobody has stopped Ruto from campaigning in Odinga's strongholds. Ruto has been campaigning for the last 4 years. It is unfortunate that it is coming to dawn to him that the elections in Kenya are not done like a sprint. They are done like a marathon. Elections in Africa are not a sprint. It is a marathon. The gentleman, Raila Amolo Odinga, came from 0%. And today he is ahead of Ruto by almost 6 points. And by next Tuesday, the exit poll, which I have been telling you on this television station before, it will be around 53, 55, minus +2. So Ruto is himself to blame. Nobody has stopped him from going to campaign in Raila Odinga's backyard. He has been campaigning in President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard, instigating people, inciting people to insult the President of the Republic of Kenya.
But Deputy President Ruto is the one saying that he's been stopped. Until this moment, we haven't heard anything from the presidency or the Odinga's camp denying that. So
let me tell you, Dr. Ruto is one man who can cry about the shadow passing. I know him very well. He's one of the youngest people. He's younger than me in age, and I grew up much earlier, and he can cry.
And you think this is a case of crying wolf?
He's crying wolf, yes. Even today he cried tears in church. Maybe one of the problems that he's crying is because he's remembering some of the bad things that he has done to some of the people and the families. And that's why maybe he's crying at the moment. He's crying because he has a problem now. He's not being stopped. The Electoral Commission has not received any complaint of any candidate in Kenya being stopped from going to campaign.
But in this case, allow me to take you back a bit so that we can better understand this. In this case, it looks as if Deputy President Ruto is the man to beat, because look at the elections and look at the campaigns. On the big day, it was only the Deputy President who stood in that particular campaign. Debate. We couldn't find Raila Odinga, who is a veteran politician in Kenya.
I warned you, Suleiman, and I told you before the debate came. You brought me on this platform with one of Ruto's men called Ngeno, and I told you that Raila Amolo Odinga and some candidates are not coming because the debate was not well organized. You cannot segment presidency. The people are going to talk about the presidents of Republic of Kenya. All of them are equal. They are all candidates. You don't segment them. You don't tell the other that you come at 8, the other one will come at 3. No, these were candidates who should have been put on the same platform. That one I blamed the organizers, and I told you that Raila will not attend, and Mr. Wajikoya will not attend. And I was good at it. As usual, I predicted quite a lot. You can't segment an interview. We should have put these people on the same platform so that we can choose, so that the people of Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world who want to do business in Kenya can choose whom they want. But if you say the second tier, you have already segregated them. That's not a debate at all.
And so that's a big flaw on the part of the organizers, as highlighted by you. But listening to you, you started off by talking about the very ugly experience of Kenya, looking at the 2007 experience, which must be prevented by all means. So how can Kenya prevent post-election violence? Because the vibe people are getting from the camps, especially of these two major candidates, doesn't really look that of like that of peace.
I don't think there will be any violence from people, but there will be contestation from the same candidates, because both of the candidates, they rarely agree on a number of things. But I don't think the people of Kenya would like to see violence again. The people of Kenya are determined to have a free and fair election. There might have been a few hiccups in the electoral system and the electoral management, but we have some of us who have been critics have withdrawn and said, it's all right, we can't go on complaining, let's see how the results come. And Kenya has got a mechanism, very serious mechanism has been put down in Kenya. And before you you are declared a candidate, you're a winner of the election, you must go through several stages. President Uhuru Kenyatta has about 29 days still to be in power in this country, because there will be a transition. There will be 14 days of an election petition to the Supreme Court on the presidency. For that 14 days, before they elapse, then the transition committee must perform what the court has decided. If there is no outright winner of 50+1%, then the Electoral Commission will declare another voting. That will take us up to October, and we might have a new president in November. But if there is an outright winner, and the court, there is no petition, and the court does not nullify any election, or the court upholds the election, President Uhuru Kenyatta has got 29 days from today to be in. Yes.
So, sorry to butt in there. You're quite an expert in African affairs matters specifically. Tell us, let's jump into the regions. There are regions and counties that make huge differences during elections in Kenya. Where should the candidates be looking at for strength?
Repeat the last question. You said candidates looking at what?
Yeah. Where should the candidates be looking at for majority votes?
Majority votes, of course. African politics is based on tribal inclination. There is nowhere in the world where, even in Britain, when the British see a Scottish Prime Minister on a ballot on the Labour Party, they will fail him. That is the politics of the whole world. Anybody who has studied political science, like me, to a level of an international last iota, I wouldn't say there is anything wrong. So that one has been duplicated on the African continent. For example, in your country, the majority of the voters are over 220 million. There was 84 million voters registered in the other last elections. Only 28 million voted. But who are the majority of the voters? The biggest tribe in your country is the Igbo. If you look at them, they influence the Ashanti, the Zulu, the Shona, the Baganda, the Kikuyu. All these are big tribes. The Dinka in Sudan, the Oromo in Ethiopia. All these influence elections. And therefore, African democracy has not evolved to a level that we can ignore tribal inclinations. We still have tribal inclinations as a rule to ascend to power. Museveni, when he came to power in Uganda, he used the Baganda as the biggest tribe with over 7 million voters and over a population of about half of the country of our country, Uganda. And he won the election and he stayed in power because he has used the Baganda. He has not gone to a minority place. He comes from a minority tribe, but here he is. he has used the Baganda to stay in power. The same has happened in South Africa, only that the South African system, which is a proportional representation, delivers you candidates without a fight after the election. So
yes. Listening to you, now let's go to Kikuyu, because both Ruto and Odinga have gone for Kikuyu running mates. That says a lot about the importance and popularity of that tribe. Do you think it will determine the outcome of the election?
First of all, the Kikuyu, it depends which type of Kikuyu. Kikuyus don't like thieves, don't like people who steal. Kikuyu like decent people. The Kikuyu work hard. It is like the Baganda. They work hard. They go and develop their businesses. On the question of candidates, since they are not here, I want to say allegedly that one of the candidates was even convicted by the court. And that is the one who is deputizing Deputy President William Ruto. He was convicted by the same judiciary and told that you are corrupt. Therefore, I don't know how that candidate, if there is any petition in court after this election, how will he face the same judges who had actually convicted him?
So how does it work that a deputy president, if you say he was convicted in Kenya, is still allowed to continue running as deputy president and also as a candidate of his party?
That is what the question everybody is asking. The two candidates have chosen the Kikuyu running mates. Martha Karua is not tainted with any corruption that you can find. Raila Odinga has no corruption tag, but the other team has got a tag of corruption, a perception, even if it is one is proved now that he actually took money. He took money, he swindled money. He made people die in hospitals, and the people could not get medicine. So he has been, that such a person now needs to be looked at as a person who can kill if he takes power. So that one is the dent on his election on Kenya Kwanza of Ruto. The Kikuyu have about 5 to 6 million votes. Therefore, every candidate in Kenya would like, after collecting votes in all parts of the country, would like to come to have a share. Originally, Ruto had mastered the entire Kikuyu. But right now, with President Uhuru Kenyatta coming back and saying, hello, I was mishandled. My Jupiter ran away and left me alone to execute duties. My Jupiter went away, went on picking money allowances for free when he was not working. I sent him to look at the roads, the hospitals. He went to do a campaign. So he has got a point here, and the Kikuyu vote is slowly being eaten towards Raila's side. Therefore, if the voter turnout does not come to 70, Ruto will go home very early.
And for some, they think that William Ruto, the deputy president, is the underdog, and you know the love people have for underdogs. Looking at the Kenyatta and the Odinga families, they are arguably the biggest political dynasties in Kenya. So don't you think Ruto is now being seen as a breakaway from the elite ruling class?
I want the international community to know that Ruto has been a parasite of dynasties. He has been eating from, have you known what an African tick is? An African tick that eats your blood. And the Ruto has never worked anywhere where he got the money. Ruto has been working with all the Moi government, Kanu government, doing so many dubious things, including YK92, which is a very historical and very dangerous movement in Kenya that killed so many people. And therefore, when he says himself is a hustler, he can't be a hustler, surely. He can't be a hustler when he actually worked with these people. He got the money from Moi and got the money from the Kenyatta family. When you create, no, wait first, Suleiman. when you create a class struggle, when you are in political science, the moment you create a class struggle, it turns out to haunt you. Because how are people, we don't see anybody on Ruto's executive who is the lowest of the ranks, who is not a dynasty, who is not a person. The perception that the people have taken, that's why the government had to be very tough, that if you have a big car, a Range Rover, like yours, which you have in Lagos, you are perceived to be a dynasty. And that type of politics is the worst politics that can plunge a country into chaos. And therefore, he abandoned that. He now doesn't use those words. He says he's being persecuted. Ruto is a sympathy collector. He cries, but he forgot one story, that Jesus came from Nazareth. But when the Nazareth people heard that Herod and Pilate were putting nails in Jesus' flesh, the people of Nazareth went and said, "Give us our son, we take him back." So the people of the mountain Kenya, have had enough of insults that Ruto is throwing at Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now let's understand this, especially for those who are watching from outside Kenya, to better understand this. You recall, I also know that you've also been an election observer in quite a number of African countries, Nigeria inclusive. Recall what transpired in 2003, leading up to the 2003 election, talking about President Obasanjo and his vice president at that time, Atiku Abubakar. Now, let us in on what exactly has gone wrong with the president, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, not backing his deputy, William Ruto, but backing someone ordinarily before now was the opposition candidate.
Yes, you know why Uhuru backed somebody? Because Uhuru said, let's have unity of purpose. Let me tell you, it is better to leave a country when it is united than to have a country when it's shattered. A country that is shattered with conflicts. Most of us have stayed in exile for 37 years because our countries were shattered with conflict. It is not very good to leave a country which is fragmented, where there are wars, where people want to kill each other, where the tribes want to fight. This country has had presidency from two tribes only. That is Ruto's tribe and Uhuru Kenyatta's tribe. So what Uhuru Kenyatta said, please, this time, let the presidency go somewhere else. Let other people also have the presidency. The two tribes have dominated the politics of Kenya, which is also not democratic. And that is all what Uhuru said. Two, Uhuru wanted to stop violence. You remember in 2017, 2018, after the nullification of the elections, the violence on the streets of Nairobi were worse. Property was being killed. People were being killed. We lost so many people. And what can you do? You can't sit down and watch your country going to the dogs. And so what Uhuru did as a mature politician, not a naive and a juvenile politician like some of the politicians on the continent of Africa, including Ruto, who wanted to fight Raila and lock up Raila in jail. Uhuru refused. Uhuru said, I'm not going to lock up Raila in jail. I want to negotiate and shake hands with Raila. The handshake that brought peace, stabilized Kenya, brought investment, brought infrastructure, brought schools, brought roads, brought hospitals. The climate that we enjoy today, the freedom that most of us, I'm not a Kenyan, but I enjoy freedom to do business in Nairobi, is because of that handshake. Ruto did not want that. Ruto wanted Raila to be locked up, Raila to be put in prison, and Uhuru refused. And Uhuru said, I'm going.
Now we're closing. Speak to us, because we have two big elections on the continent. First, August 9, Kenyans will be going to the polls, and for 2023, Nigeria will also be going into an election. We've seen how formidable and effective the handshake has been in Kenya, bringing all politicians together. What can Africa, Nigeria inclusive, learn from the handshake? As a closing comment from you, Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that I have taken the theory of Uhuru Kenyatta as a legacy of a handshake, and I'm selling it to Africa. One of the first countries that is going to hammer an agreement is the president of Zimbabwe and the leader of opposition, Chamisa. I have been working behind the scenes to make sure that the president shakes hands with the opposition leader so that they mold their country. A handshake is the best way. A handshake, we Africans are not yet up we don't have the ability to be democratic, not yet. We have not reached that level. We took a concept which was not well educated, well given to us. We have not learned what democracy is. We don't know what elections are. We kill each other. We wait to hate each other because of elections. We should now sit back and look at what can Africa do? Can we do a renaissance? Can Africa change the course by not having constantly every 5 years of elections, which will bring chaos, not joy? Can Africa change mechanisms, their voting systems, to proportional representation, like South Africa, such that when you elect, you go back to work in your studio in Lagos and wait for results? Until we reach that time, I think elections in Africa will be contentious, will be a thing of a trigger to chaos that we see our people going through in Nigeria. Already there are tensions. You can see what is in Nigeria today. A lot of tension. People have wasted time. Some of them want even Mr. Buhari to be impeached. This is because, it's because of elections. They want him impeached and be thrown out so that the other party can win. All these things are part and a parcel of Africa not knowing what elections are, not knowing how to deal with an opponent once you have defeated him.
All right, okay.
And knowing how to embrace the winner.
Dr. David Matsanga, I'd like to thank you for your time, and we do hope that Dr. Matsanga will be back again on August 9. He's going to be live with us in the studios as we cover the Kenya general elections. Once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, and thank you. Keep it up. This is what we want in Africa. This is Africa, by Africa, with Africa. That is what we want.
Thank you very much. Coming up on the square, the 2023 Nigerian general elections are upon us, and the time is ticking. Kasim Afegwa will be joining me when we return. Stay with us.